here at Mega City. This is going to be one of the better zones for Mega City, where there's just going to be so many opportunities to take shots at players like that. Again, the problem comes down to, are you really going to be able to, you know, like, there'll be opportunities. There's going to be players rotating in this area, but players are much more alert in the finals, at least you'd think. Irizumi and Syned over here at the Rift Island. It's funny because Malibuka tweeted after their win, "Stay away from the Rift Island." Syned and Irizumi like, yeah, I don't know about all that, guys. We're still gonna make our way there.
Are y'all in this game? No?
Oh,
okay.
all right.
My island now.
Oh, off to Rift Island we go.
Seems like to be a huge win condition for them because, yeah, it's also so cool to see how different those two teams use it. Tomodachi obviously a little bit more towards the sky. Irizumi box to box. Queasy Vino in a late Kenjutsu fight. And this is not for a cache. This is not for positioning really at all because the zone's about to move. They just feel like fighting.
Well, fortunately, they ain't got to move. The zone pulls perfectly
Oh, wow.
on them
Okay,
again,
never
right?
mind.
They ain't really
I'm
got
sorry.
that. You clearly don't have the zones.
I wasn't
Proven
familiar
that
with
one.
your game. I have to apologize.
Yeah. It's all good, bro. But look, Darky and Drayson are contesting these guys and making it, you know, really sort of difficult for them in terms of cutting off loot, just sort of disrupting their regular plan. And I know these guys have spent all week planning and really, you know, trying to figure out the finer details of this general area based off of the teams they knew were going to be around them. And so to see them still doing well, even with, you know, that sort of spanner thrown into the works, where a team's just landing on you now that you weren't, you know, prepared for, it's, again, a big testament to why these guys are some of the best players in the world. They can adapt in the highest of stakes situations.
If you don't even believe what Levin's saying and you don't want to take opinion of sorts into facts or into account, you can just look at the way they are on the leaderboards, right? In their worst games, still getting top 4 in that specific game, still alive in the 10th zone. He's absolutely right. These guys are, I would say, the best in the lobby at turning the worst of situations, the biggest of surprises, into the best of circumstances.
Here for Bacon and Ski. Not going to be the kind of game they could play last time around where they just base up.
Going exactly that way and helping them for the rest of it. 380 damage above Surge. I don't see many teams coming out of Brutal with that much of a padding to play with.
I think the big thing here, right, is that they have been fighting. They've been active.
Yeah.
And now as they make their way into zone, right, it's all about picking good spots as you get in. They're going to rotate in towards the congested side. And maybe they will look to avoid that, not go for the white line. Choose some Putrick, find themselves picking up some limbs. They need to be careful as well because they are deep in the zone.
Oh, they pick up Glubshi. And we're looking at them with the mythic pumps, and that's going to look so good. And that power translates over to Tooth and Putrick. That's crazy. I mean, in terms of how this fight ended up dropping this far, this hard, it's tough for the team. Seems like Glubshi had everything set and ready to go. But now that Racetrack team will have another game to play. Chicky and Trulex, I'm liking these guys today in terms of consistency. Every time we tune in with them, I think the highest on Surge overall, and they're adaptively picking very good spots in every zone. It's not just the big vertical tower, it's at top of Slappy or in the mid kind of ground of many big complexes that get built. It's really, really good.
Yeah, this is clearly a team that has fought well and hard about how they were going to play Surge in this lobby, and it is paying off. It is working out as good as it really can get, because like you said, they are consistently making it through the mid-game without much worries. It's just about making things click once they get to endgame.
Yeah, that's the issue. Maybe they have a bit too much padding, not that much pressure. In some of these games, people just jump in on their lair and they're not ready, not completely locked in for the fight, but that should change very, very soon. Possible J, easy slide in. Everyone rotating through Mega City. You can see how easy it is to find cover over here, so not many people will go down, but as a result, some of these teams who are very down bad on Surge might not have a chance to actually find it as much. Jay taking a little bit of damage, so a pit stop will have to be made. They'll go straight up. Probably weren't even planning for this, but let's see what Cosmo can find.
Yeah, and it might just work out better for them in terms of just having a higher position to kinetic blade from. Maybe get a bit more distance on their rotation.
Oh, look at where they have to land, though. Completely aquatic. And they're gonna be forced into the water here, next to the pier, next to Jury and Paradoxy, which I personally, not someone I want to box beside because that's a fight waiting to happen.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And you're seeing what happens, right? When you sort of land in these positions, just the outside of water. The team's elevated, sitting higher above in the land. They're just going to sit there and take shots at you. They know you're in an uncomfortable spot. Anchoring Gold barely moving out of the way of Hellfire and Refsguard, but they're still going to keep it.
Look at the rotation the entire lobby has to make, most of which, as we can see right now, you can see the lightning strikes. Every time you see one, that's a duo that's down on Surge. Vaniac and Kami too. Once again, lobby leaders, 200 points, they're in first place. Issues with Storm Surge.
And in games where, Shy, we've already seen these teams struggling to hold onto their mats deep into the game, this is going to be one of the most taxing games on your materials there is.
This is a triple overlapped Venn diagram. On one side, you have to build on water, your mats cut in half. On the other side, you have to rotate with 20 teams, your mats cut in half. And on the other side, there's 12 zones to play with, Levin. Your mats cut in half again. That's 3 halves. That doesn't mathematically equate.
No mats.
No mats.
Left. And we're going to see it. A team here, Vaniac and Kami, who have been so impressive, leading the way in this lobby. Again, making a tough rotation, having to tank a bunch of damage, and he has the shields to deal with it, but he's slowly running out of the materials. Like you said, mats cut in half.
Twice, and now he has to also deal with Surge, the 4th half, and he's trying to find it, but then playing defense on that, going for these Surge battles, yeah, it costs you ammo, yeah, it costs you a little bit of damage, it also costs you mats.
And slowing down and having to stop here for just a couple of moments is going to give time for all those teams now, from that side he was just on, to now start rotating on top of his head. He needs to start moving quickly.
Tsunami of players, and you can see the pressure getting to him. Vaniac missed edits, and now that costs him half his mats. You can't.
Doesn't have any room. Literally no room for error here. Where's this gonna land?
What?
This is gonna be so tough.
It's Reason and Janice. Okay, I mean, this is an okay position. Stuck right beside a rock, but everyone has to rotate into you, so... And I guess Cammy and Seti are looking to beam other players. No one's focusing on your box. I'm just worried for Vaniac.
The natural rotation for him to make there now would be with that kinetic blade, but he doesn't have mats to work with. So
yeah.
I don't know where he lands. He's gonna have to just try landing some of the boxes, I guess. Something crazy is gonna happen with him. Cammy and Seti, though, in a similar area to him, but they have much more to work with. Kinetic blades with 3 charges will mean that they can safely get to the next zone, and the materials as well. He's down on Surge, he's being taken out by everyone. People are watching him, people are looking at him, hiding behind a ramp, stuck against the side of this hill. It's all over for Vaniac and Kami, and you've got to start thinking about whether or not that first place slot's gonna hold.
I think the lobby's just too close to call at this point. No way, Jose, but hopefully they can keep that top 5. Meanwhile, we'll tune into an alternate dimension with Queasy and Vino, because once again, it doesn't look like they're in the same game. Do you feel a sense of pressure?
Right now, for them, no.
A sense of urgency?
No.
Any trouble, Surge?
Not one bit.
Oh, kinetic blades.
Taking tags onto players, rotating onto the side they want to get to. It's Vidil and Savage, and now they want to take this fight. And Vino, when he wants to take a fight, typically is a scary sight. So very fortunate that a couple players start taking shots at them. They'll reposition, look for another angle, and then look to get ahead of that team, right? Prioritize the positioning over taking the fight. And now these guys are sitting in an even more comfortable position.
This is huge. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Irazumi, Sened, when it comes to influence, when it comes to not actually just hiding from things, having protocols to get you to the end of the game, when it comes to control, power, dominance on the field, these guys have pulse rifles and ultimate high ground. They'll see people move, and I talked about it already, when you have to move over water, when you're moving with 20 teams, when you're accounting for Surge, you're not gonna have mats. That's one of the best things for a high ground team with pulse rifles. Mustache and Tayson also work really well against people who are very desperate. They'll bait layers below them even when they don't even exist, and Mustache does it again, finds a few tags, they're good on Surge, they have to move now.
And even their materials in this lobby look fruitful compared to what a lot of the other players will be looking and working with.
These players who are trying to work as soon as they get out of their box. I mean, for Mr. Savage, he tried to move Irazumi from up high, those pulse rifles, 1 second a beam, he's gone.
And we know how powerful they are. Vidil, having to play this one out as a solo, but I've seen so many great solo moments from him this season, and we might just get another one on our hands, putting that SMG to good use. Tayson Mustache, though, still alive, haven't quite hit the heights of their game 1 win, but now trying to make something happen, blading their way through onto zone, and ahead of all these other teams.
Oh, I see Queasy rising above. You can kind of see his fin like a shark above water, going for high ground. Not really collapsing on it just yet. This will be up against Irazumi, against double pulse rifles. It will be tough. Meanwhile, Vidil, really good solo clutch in the makings right now. Has that slurp ticking. has a spot a little bit closer to that low ground. Check out Sky, they're going to be pressuring him. They're going to go all in for that box. It'll be very tough for him to live. Vidil on the bottom side, Flixie going up towards the Sky too. Vino looking to actually claim it and hold it. Is anyone else going to challenge is the question. Sit up on the backside. Gets challenged, knocked down. No one's trying for it. They have it again.
Pushing people off, but still looking now to make sure they solidify it. Cammy and Seiya down below, and they still have some materials. We're going to have to start thinking about how to get some more. Playing low ground in this lobby is much, much more difficult. With it going over the water, they need it to start going towards the islands.
Not an option for Cammy and Seiya yet, which means basically no points
That's
to
how
accumulate
it's yeah,
in terms of
fine.
eliminations. Reese and Janice kind of in that same circumstance. They want to be able to dip below to at least have a little bit of a chance to breathe, but that's not going to be possible, so they will get chipped away as they rotate towards their next box, their next layer. Now side by this game, and he goes back and forwards into ground that doesn't exist, into the water, and somehow still finds himself alive.
The zone keeps pulling over water though, so these mats are just going to continue to be burned through. Vidil's making it happen though, running into a box, picking up Sided, and looking for even more. He's picked up Pandelex now. Vidil is on a tear. He has the pulse rifles, and he has a pathway to the zone.
Power in Vidil's inventory, but what can he actually do with it? Some mats to use as well. I drop map down low, bounce back. How does that look in this claustrophobic layer? On all sides, mats are dwindling, running low. The corners of your screen turning dark. You're not sure exactly where to shoot. No one's making the first edit. No one's going down just yet. You have to force something. Spray on the walls. Matt looks for it, but can't find anything.
The zone just pulled far, and it's pulling far again. These guys are going to have to make the last of these couple of builds because they don't have any more left. The shotguns need to start connecting. They have the angle, they have the peak, and they have the shotgun pellets. Hitting one, Gripey falls before Matt falls as well. iDrop has to respond. He's looking to try to solidify that. That's 4 points added to the tally.
Finds the finish. An enemy swims right below him, and iDrop can't even see. 29 HP to work with as just a few more duels left alive. Reason going to be his next target, and he strikes from down below. Trapped. Will he have a chance to breathe again? He's just trying to outlast things, play for that placement. 4 more duels gone down. Huge decision from iDrop. Mixon now back in tow with his duo. Him and Blotcha have a chance to win too.
Mixon just focused on staying alive. They didn't quite realize, but now they do. They know he's below. They'll drop down, try and take him out. Don't have that fall. Won't chop it. iDrop will try and respond, but he's no match. Mixon and Blotcha have it easily. Vino now dropping down. He wants to close out the game. He doesn't even want to give them a chance to breathe and realize it's a 2v2. He drops down, picks up one, looks for the other, and it's done. Queasy and Vino, another victory for this team.
A spear with a sharp head in front of it. This duo is unstoppable, unreachable, and absolutely lethal inside the first day of EU.
In a game where so many teams felt like they were struggling, trying to hustle their way through that game, these guys had the easiest of rides. It was so simple for them all throughout that end game, and they close it out in typical Queasy and Vino fashion.
I'm hearing that Queasy's falling asleep. He's having trouble staying awake this FNCS. I mean, if you're playing like this, then things are going to protocol. They're going your way. Vino's down low, taking on these 1v2s. Everything's going to plan. These guys are the bread and butter of EU. Nothing can stop them.
And look, we were talking about how earlier Queasy's probably falling asleep on height. He most definitely is. Because earlier in the season, he would have at least had to heal off, right? You know, try play for the heal off, run back in his zone, have to actually do something. Now he can just sit there and watch as Vino picks up all their limbs down below.
Whether it's comedy, action, suspense, you can give a tag for this duel because we can't really figure it out. Are they sleeping? Are they awake? We know they're great. What an Adam
Royale here. I mean, I'm glad we hyped up top of the show because they're proving that the proof is in the pudding right now. Unbelievable scenes. I mean, the fact that they split up as well. One, you know, Queasy up top, Vino down below, sweeping up. Absolutely amazing. Taco, what a great game from this pair.
And it's almost expected at this point. I mean, the moment that you see Queasy establishing himself on that high ground, just continuing to pose such a threat from above, he doesn't even need to IGL for Venom. He can use his own eyesight, and it became a situation of stay alert, stay alive for everybody aside from those two.
Look, I'm getting a little sense of deja vu, right? We've seen this today. We've seen Queasy and Vino dominate that high ground from the 1 versus 2 down below to Queasy, you know, up in the clouds, kind of looking down. Oh, Vino just took out 2 opponents, just got us the VR, you know, I'll take it.
Absolutely right. I mean, this team right now, we love to kind of share with you guys at home how much we get excited about these particular duos and who we think is going to go the way. But it really is a case now of everything they've done up until this point, the experiences they've had. It all comes together, the combination, everything. We're seeing it in front of our very eyes here. Why they are so good, but they're able to move with everything that's thrown in front of them they are an unstoppable force, Taco.
Again, it's just the awareness level, really, that this duo chooses to consistently maintain throughout the entirety of a single lobby, because it doesn't matter who might actually be trying to prioritize height. At some point, if Queasy and Veno are still up, they're going to chop you down, and they're going to just siege it by force.
Look, they make it happen, right? They can get the job done. I'm looking forward to see if maybe we can get a Thomas HD off spawn again and have them go up against Queasy Veno in the late game, but they're gonna have to get off the start for that.
Yeah, I think we'd all love to see that. But what we're excited to see here as well is currently how the leaderboard stands as well. Let's take a look at this. The standings right now, and there they are atop the rest of the pack here in Grand Finals after the game from before here. Queasy and Veno with 280 points, 20 eliminations, 200 placement points. I mean, they are way out in front here, Taco.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, having 2 Victory Royales is really starting to become more of a separating factor. Those eliminations might be worth 4 points a pop, but if you can just keep collecting more and more Game 1 wins, there's only so much you can do. And Queasy and Veno, they just seem unstoppable.
They do, but let's take a look at the number 2 on the leaderboard. Blotcha and Mixin at 246 points. This duo is not someone you want to sleep on. Mixin here, you can see 4 eliminations already, bumping it up to 5 on Seti. They were looking unstoppable in this match. The synergy, the chemistry, they were playing together. And although it did ultimately end with the Veno 1 versus 2, at least they got that second place and a good amount of eliminations that bumped them up to that second place spot on the leaderboard.
They're basically just making do with what they've got, because we can see their mats running incredibly low, forced to kind of take shelter underneath some of those low layers that have already been established from before. But I think where it really starts for this duo is that they've actually been slightly surprise contested over at Meadow Mansion. It's been Mikkel and Monet that have been forced off of their original drop spot because of Vaniac and Karmi. And so seeing Blotcha and Mixin find that success, I think, stems back to the fact they've got their damage early.
Yeah, they really have. They bumped. There they are, sat in 7th position right now. 8 eliminations, 170 placements. They are putting themselves in contention. They're managing to stay in there. May not have a victory royale just yet, Takata, but they're managing to get in there, at least put themselves up for consideration when it comes to Grand Finals and the Axe Champions.
Right, it's not a bad place to be in, right? Being in the top 10, being in the 7th place spot, they're kind of one big game away from bumping themselves up to that top 3 or even, you know, second, first place on the leaderboard. We saw what Thomas HD and Malice
Blanka już śpiewa.
when they got a big, impactful match. So if Karmi and Seti can keep up the consistency and then get one big game, you know, they'll make their way up that leaderboard.
I mean, I think Seti and Cammy are probably the embodiment of slow and steady wins the race, because how many times have we seen them in this position where they're not necessarily in that top 5 just yet, but it only takes 1 or 2 games to actually catapult yourself into that position, and it's proven already by how far they've climbed as is.
It really is. It's exciting. It's 4 games down, 2 to go today. But one thing we often talk about here on the show is Storm Surge. For newer players as well, they want to get to know exactly what's going on here. But Storm Surge, look at this. I love the lights have changed like a superhero. Full control right now. Storm Surge, a massive factor in this. And for those that might be wanting to know more about it, how has it been affecting Grand Finals thus far, Takata?
Yeah, so let's take a look here. We're on the southeast side of the map by Mega City, and if you look at the left side of this zone, that's going to be the congested side, and that's exactly where Vaniac and Karmi positioned themselves, but on a hill, so they're elevated enough to see all those duos that are rotating in through the POIs to the congested side of this zone, where the contrary dead side by Naughty Nets and Kajutsu Crossing, it doesn't have a lot of people. Now they have a lot of options from all these players, all these duos rotating in to get that damage.
And what I really love about this from Vaniac and Karmi is that this is key adaptability here, something that you kind of expect from a duo that's consistently made it into Grand Finals 10 times combined, because Vaniac, Karmi, they used to be able to depend on Mikkel and Monet at their original drop spot south of Frenzy Fields, but since they pushed off Mikkel and Monet from trying to directly 50-50 them there, this is their adaptation by choosing to take sites instead towards that congestion over by Mega City. Granted, it didn't pan out for them. They definitely had their struggles, but it's the thought that counts.
It's
really
the thought that counts, but I mean, they got a good job done, right?
They get a great job done. I mean, I think Storm Surge, I mean, having to not think about it when you get those tags, they're so pivotal as well. I mean, everything's to play for. 2 games left today and a whole day tomorrow as well. We are going into our next game very shortly. Who will top the leaderboard by the end of the day? 2 games left to find out what's going to happen next, but I feel another storm brewing right now. I can feel it in the air. It's time to jump into game number 5.
The penultimate game of the day is here. A last opportunity for a lot of these teams to start to set the precedent as we head into the back end of the games, right? Because yes, today's games are starting to wrap up, Shayo, but still plenty more Fortnite to be played.
6 more games on day number 2, and in EU, we've seen the biggest changes there. You can be first place and then dwindle all the way into irrelevancy only on this region.
It's mad. Some of the things back into this one, how far can they rise in the standings, right? That will be the question. Queasy and Vino's dominance, I think, was inevitable in today's games. The question is, are there going to be more hurdles thrown at them? They're already finding one in terms of being contested. Can they keep up with it?
Absolutely. Being contested, being in that position is huge for the lobby leaders. For the rest of the people who are kind of in the mid-game, kind of against these players, Putrick and Toos, where do they move overall, right? When they're going off spawn, how do they turn those games into points? Shimoki, Swizzy being contested by Podesai, Snazy. How did they switch up their entire games all across the line?
Yeah, and I think the big thing, right, is if you do find yourself lower down in the standings, there are still so many more opportunities. You have to keep a good mental. You have to start being observant, right, of areas and things you can do to capitalize come tomorrow. Because again, it will be a whole different lobby in feeling. Same players, but it will feel very, very different. And you can use these last 2 games to start to figure out exactly how you can benefit from that. We're seeing the players glide on in here. Trulex and Cheeky over on the south side, Slappy, Tayson and Mustache on the north side. But here at the racetrack, it's Putrick and Toos against Malabuk and Thomas for the 5th time.
Featuring Bevies and Pablo Wingo. I'm going to add that feature now onto this track. Race or not. Thomas HD, Malabuk are on a timer. Seems like Putrick and Toos always get the slurp truck and have so much shield to work with. This would have basically been almost an elimination onto Putrick, but as Malabuk is shooting, Toos knocks him down. Thomas HD forced into the same jump. I'm looking at my memories. I see Deja Vu, and no one's winning here at all. Because from the backside comes Bevies. Thomas HD finds one, is able to get the finish. This could be huge. Toos in front of him, and he gets that siphon of materials into the trash can, 13 HP, and actually blocks Toos getting out. Thomas, the adaptability, forcing Bevies to shoot Toos. And they'll have a few more shields and mats to work with. I think that, yeah, Thomas will finally go down to Pablo Wingu. And these guys are the winners at the end of the day.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? Because they just can't do anything about it. Pablo and Bevies are just gonna roll on through. They hunt him down. And again, you know, some people won't be happy, but this is exactly what they needed to do. Pablo Wingo and Bevies, they needed to look for somewhere vulnerable around them. They found the most vulnerable fight. And that also one battle between those 2 teams we've been watching all day. I don't know how you count it now, right? Because again, it was 3-1 to Toos and Putrick. That game, both teams get taken out, right? So it's still 3-1.
It's 1-0 actually for me. It's one team qualified to globals and one not.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what we're looking at here at the end of the day.
Definitely. And I think that's part of why Malabuk and Thomas will stay and continue to fight. They want to condition racetrack. If racetrack's going to be in the game, you never know what's going to be in the game by the time global come. They want to be the team that lands it. They don't want anybody on any region to contest them, and so they'll continue to fight for it, you've got to think.
Toos and Putrick, they know exactly how to land it at least. They have won a majority. The Unleashed, remember, it's just top 5 in any of these, or at least in Major 2. I think there's a few more spots available than in Major 3 and a last chance squall. If this team slides through, that's trouble in paradise for Thomas HD and Malabuka. Meanwhile, for a bunch of these other teams, you got to be looking at now, what are we really aiming for here at the end of day 1? Where do we want to be points-wise coming into day 2? Are we striving for an FNCS championship here? Is that what this franchise is all about? Or do we want to hit top 5 and make it a globals?
Well, for Janice and Reason, I think either would be ideal for them, right? We obviously saw how their story ended when it came to FNCS last season. Finished day 1 in first, dropped off to around 5th place. Was it 4th? I can't actually remember exactly what was it. 5th or 4th?
Might have been 8th overall, I don't even know.
It was one of the 2. It was around 5th or 4th. It was one of those 2.
I don't know nothing.
This time round, though, they have the potential to finish there, but not if they get snuck up on like this. Cosmo didn't quite hit enough from behind. But Janice is still alive, but not working with much HP. And now they're going to jump in. Reason is here, though, and the truck smashes come out to help him. That's almost really, really bad for the Germans.
Did they hear like 4 splashes? Like, all right.
We'll back.
I don't want your life story and all that. I'm out of there.
Smart disengage, wise dodge, I'd say.
I hope that actually just... Okay, another chance for Ferdoxy, actually. Hold that thought. I'm sneaking in. And unfortunately, Fastoki can't catch the rope. I think Hydra might have just used it to get all the way sky high.
Oh, man.
Not like this.
Not like this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Only one person can kind of go all the way up top on that rope at a time. Everyone kind of using everything in terms of what they have at their disposal. This game's theme is sneaky tactics, I guess. Crouching, waiting, going for a shot as everyone's kind of in the rhythm of their drop spot. Jurgen Ferdoxy will be able to just play their game. Zone moving fast and away from at least the bottom half of Kenjutsu. Maybe towards the top left side of the map right now. Vino and Queasy separated to try to get as much loot as possible and get ready for their games. Almost around 40 points ahead of the competition. For them, I mean, I asked a question at the beginning of their own, separated from the rest of the lobby. High points. Get as many points per game as possible.
This fight we have here, Vanek and Kami, they were lobby leaders at one point today. They lost that spot after going down last game, and they'll try and regain it, but it is such a messy situation here at Steamy Springs. You can see they're starting to rotate out of the way, but they're gonna start running into Jalen and Twy. Kefi and Pachawa there as well, still up and alive. It's interesting to see, right? Jalen and Twy, Kefi and Pachawa both still alive. Both those teams are contesting each other, fighting off spawn throughout the day. But with both those teams staying up, Boaz is in the mix. Like, there's so many different teams in the Steamy Springs area that are just making it such a tight spot to move around.
You get bottlenecked almost if you don't get out fast. It's very tough, and we've seen the effects of that. The unfortunate story of Perchawa, this FNCS, in the storm. Fortunate so far for Tayson and Mustache. They've had a game under their belt. Every win so far has also just looked really easy for the team that's in control at the end of the day. Cool pattern to notice. Zara's Angie also not too bad overall on day one. 13th place and very close in points to the people around them. One good game could boost them into the top 10.
Definitely can. And I think what we've seen from them throughout the qualifying weeks is that they have that big game potential. I was actually quite impressed with a lot of what I saw from that team. And so I'm hoping that even if it isn't today, we eventually get to start to see some of their best play come out tomorrow.
They're exactly where they need to be. I feel like if you're top 15 at the end of day one, you have a chance at being top 5 at the end of the day 2.
Definitely. Even lower down than that, we've seen
Really?
great comebacks.
Yeah, that's true.
We've seen some great comebacks, and with the point format being how it is, 4 points per an elimination is massive. You have one big pop-off game, you know, we see an up arrow and 40 next to it, right? We've already seen that today, so we know it's possible.
Top 5, very different in this FNCS. Gives you a spot at Global. Global Championships happening towards the end of the year. You're not just competing against people in your region, but across all 6 that are active playing right now. Tayson and Mustache, they will be there.
They will be there. They've already picked up one FNCS win so far this year, and potentially a second on the horizon. They sit in 3rd place in the standings, and that's a nice spot to be in as you head into the second. Themselves necessarily weren't too confident about their chances. With how well they're doing, I think it goes to show that this is a team that, come global time, are definitely going to be big contenders to win the whole thing.
These guys on site, in person, look so good, and I would say an up-and-comer that can translate kind of their beginnings into absolutely dope success at the end of the day on EU. Della and Pixie came out absolutely swinging in Major 1. I believe top 5, top 6 finish. Took home a lot, and today looked really good in terms of starting games, starting end games with good protocols, good spots. Unfortunately, they're fighting Queasy Vino, which is what happened in the last FNCS as well. They have to overcome the hardest boss in EU. Asa and Slove come up against many different EU duos in their games. Feels like they're just taking whichever scrappy fight they can where they at least have some sense of control.
If you told me these guys were playing drop shot roulette, I'd believe you. They're everywhere. They're everywhere all the time. I feel like they're everywhere. Genuinely towards this northwest side of the map, though.
The thing is, that it feels like they know exactly what they're doing in all these new spots over and over again.
Well, they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's fight. And they feel very confident in fights. You see Acid just trying to take angles. They want to track Pincer Podesai in here. That's exactly what they'll do. They just keep claiming space, keep trying to force him down the wrong corner.
Oh, hold up.
Teeny and Misha are very, very close by, and they might not know that. They have to be careful. They might get snuck up on completely. Teeny just patiently waiting for the shot, and they don't have a clue.
Breaking a few walls left and right. Absolutely silent. Teeny's done this once before. They get edited down. Oh no. Gotta make sure your cones stay cones, and because of that, Teeny and Misha found out. And it looks like they don't really have the speed or confidence to really want to take this full fight. They were just looking for that damage, and then they just wanted to get out. But Teeny's gonna lock into this one. May as well. You gotta get your surge somewhere.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge fight for them, and it's one that they probably will need to take now. Switching hands, right? We go from getting snuck up on to trying to sneak up on people. And yeah, Teeny and Misha getting out of the way, not without taking a bit of damage, and I'm sure Asa would have wished he could have got a bit more out of that. The shots.
Yeah, I like how you just let him run for that extra 2 seconds. Could have beamed it a little bit. Gimmicks and Schmecky, we tuned in with them a little while ago. They were looking good in terms of getting in the zone, but bad on Surge overall. So the South Zone pulls still giving them big tests to overcome. Lots of teams ahead. I'm surprised we're not watching like that Pitfall game in Game 5. A lot of the times people just start to really key and switch things up before having a stoic last game. Everyone here is just still locked in EU.
Yeah. We're very, very used to seeing these Game 5s be a bit messy.
Yeah.
In their nature.
Cammy and Seti as well. Up inside of base, Frenzy look good, but why are they set up for success in this game? Mini has the answers.
Lots of reasons indeed. Cammy and Seti doing the little thing to find success and hopefully set up for success for the rest of the game. Actually, Seti here using the dumpster diving augment to hop inside of one of the haystacks nearby. This actually gets him maximum ammo to use later on down the line, so hopefully now they can use that for those Storm Surge tags. And they've actually secured themselves a combat cache, getting them so much gold loot and, of course, those slurps as well. Hopefully they can use them to find success.
Oh, they say, one man's trash, another man's medium ammo. I didn't expect it to get you that hard. That's crazy. Oh, man. But that's good. I mean, an insight to see exactly why they have so much ammunition, why they're looking so good towards the end of the game. And one pattern I've noticed, these mid-game analysts that come in, whoever they're doing the piece on, 50-50 success rate of them getting top 5 at the end of the game.
Interesting. So what you're saying here is Cammy and Seti win this one.
Possibly, 50% chance. Don't source that stat that I just said, by the way, too. It's just a feeling I have in my heart.
You are the king of fake stats. Like, you are actually the king of fake stats.
But they sound good, don't they? Like, you want to believe them.
We need a stat about your fake stats. That's what I want.
You won't find those. You won't find those.
What you will find over at Brutal Bastion is two teams going at it for an eternity here. I feel like there have just been no winners out of Brutal Bastion in terms of just like overarching success throughout the season, even though it has the vault. You think it's very powerful, very strong, but all teams just desperately fighting for it, and it just ends up being nobody comes out on top.
No one has their stamp on it yet, which I feel, yeah, it's exactly why. It's like an emerging POI. It's kind of how things were in the old days. So many teams would scrap for it over and over again, stay inside the zone. Same thing with the Shark. This season is Brutal Bastion. This is completely anecdotal too, but a lot of the time I feel like this spot itself becomes the hot spot in a lot of these games.
Well, yeah, 100%. So many of the teams in the area know if we need loot, go Brutal Bastion.
Yeah.
If we need Surge, there's gonna be people Brutal Bastion. Like,
Yeah.
everybody knows, like, you could just go Brutal Bastion and there'll be something there. If you're looking for something, something will be there, whatever it is.
That makes it that much more sludgy, viscous, and difficult to actually navigate and get out of. You get trapped in there like quicksand, even though you're running on snow. Twine Jalen jumping into the zone. So must have a cache of sorts or something left. Maybe it's just for maps, and then they get back in.
Yeah, and these guys haven't had many opportunities to play out a game like this, right? And so I want to see them make the most of it. Because again, this is a team with no Grand Finals experience. Jalen and Zwei making their first Grand Finals, and I think they've got a lot of people rooting for them, and understandably, their journey, their run so far has been incredibly impressive. But it's all about using this first day to figure things out, right? It's your first Grand. I don't think anybody ever expects people to do well in their first Grand. It's such a hard lobby. It's very rare you see a team do well in their first Grands. So hopefully they can start to pick things up over the course of the next 6 games after this one.
At least they're on the same page with all the decisions. That's doing well, step 1 in a lot of books. Vino Queasy, I love this position. A lot of the times when you're defending from really high vertical fire, you expose yourself to low ground angles and mid ground angles. So anytime the island shoots first, Queasy Vino might have a chance to land free shots on people, getting those builds down. Anchor in the zone, I feel like has had trouble, just like many of these outside landing teams, of getting in. No stranger to fights, 298 above, but in terms of overall positioning, I mean, these guys are just chasing more and more and more in terms of just trying to get some fights down rather than position inside the zone.
Yeah, and they've had their fair share of surge problems throughout the day, and I think that's pretty why they really want to deal with Fire Bro. Maybe at this point it's got a bit personal, right? We've seen that happen many a time. Lucia and Steno, they have their own surge issues to deal with. 30 above is, yeah, it's above, right? And you want to be above the threshold, but it's not comfortably above. And you see instantly, right, where now they are a bit below, having to use some of their shields.
If you're tuning in at the end of the day, you don't know what Storm Surge is. Every time we say Surge, Threshold, you don't know what we're talking about. It's as important as the mini-map. It's the number right up to be above. Any number and then above, just like it's switched there for Lucia. 128 above the threshold. If you're there, you don't take damage periodically. It's great. If you're not over the threshold, lightning strikes you down. You take 25 damage, 25 damage. It's not good. And because of this, you'll see Lucia go into these boxes, getting this damage down. What a shot on the Chicky.
Yeah, it was tough, right? Because it looked like Chicky was actually just opening up to be able to kinetic blade out and rotate.
Yeah.
And then boom, somebody just drops right in front of his face and stops that one from happening. I saw a moment ago Tayson going down in the feed. We're seeing now what's going on here. We're Stash having to pick up the pieces.
He's trying for it. And there's so many other duos who are in the business. Quicksat too. Yeah, in terms of mid-game segments, no one's winning. But the claim ones are doing well. Like, they're doing well, you know? Like, 9th, 10th zone. Like, they got some placement under their belts.
Shire caught in 8K.
No. I think it's caught in 480p. Like, it's not halfway, you know? I'm not saying wins. I'm saying they're getting to eat, you know? Like a 2-piece combo. I think they're chilling. I'm never reading a quick stat again. Imagine.
The quick stat got beef with Shire, man. They got serious beef with Shire. Oh, man. Vanya and Kami finally in a position akin to what we saw from them earlier in the day, right? Where they are a bit more comfortable on Surge, more central in their positioning, and you can see now they will have access to that 7th zone relatively easily here towards the dead side of the zone. And that means that another chance to play their game. I think you look at Vanyak and Kami over the past year, these are players who we see every FNCS final. We see them have big pop-off moments, but it's never quite been, you know, the magical performance at the end of it. And now finally a weekend where it looks like it could be possible for them.
They need to fix this one issue they have, which is creating a track in front of them to follow when things look like this. Frenzy fields, flat grounds, no duels in front of you. It's kind of like, you know, a lot of the times, completely sidetracking here, when you're racing and there's no one in front of you, it's tough to upkeep your speed to know exactly how fast to run. Vanyak Kami, it's tough for them when there isn't a mountain to climb, when there isn't someone right beside them to shadow. I feel like they need to be able to just hold their ground and create space for themselves to use.
Yeah, and that definitely exists right now when you're on the dead side of the zone. Nobody here. We're seeing City and Kami have just been able to run in. Right, look how many materials they've been able to save just from running in on that side. Nobody's there to give them an issue.
Ooh, Mustache. Can't hide.
He's a solo, but he will find you. Doesn't matter. Does have a clear path to zone. He can use all these builds for cover. And will just sort of get his way on in now. And things aren't looking too bad for Mustache, even as a solo here.
Having that kinetic blade, you can really end up pushing forward on these wins. Seeing the slow placement of these reverse ramps, though, has Karmi and Vanyak on edge as to maybe there might just be a solo in this box. This is good for both teams. Karmi and Vanyak now have one person to actually have in front of them on that track to be able to just keep bullying or have building for them before they move. And Merstash at least has the cover of a duo beside him at all times, so he's not singled out completely. Zara Zangi, actually a pretty successful game so far. 3 Elims finding themselves at this position. Matt's almost chopped in half, but looking good too. Unfortunately, they have to move across the entire world to continue playing this game. This fight has to be fast. They have to look forward to see exactly where to go next, and it's straight into the box. Zara wants the elimination, and he gets what he wants.
Yeah, they know Ricky was a solo because they had just taken out Arc. And so once they clean him up, they now start to think about how to get to zone. They can go towards the south side and Kinetic Blade over some of those teams that only have 2 charges, right, with that rare Kinetic Blade, but they box up, go again. The rotation is definitely there to be made. Vino and Queasy, are we going to see some more textbook gameplay from them, splitting their materials now as they start to look into what the rest of this game holds, and the materials they have at this stage, oh my goodness. Mythic shotgun in hand, purple Kinetic Blade, max materials, above on search, and they're going to add to that tally here with the way they're spraying at this team. This is just unfair. This is near perfect Fortnite we're seeing from this team so far today.
Perfect dive in 2. Not a second of hesitation. Vino grabs it, and that's a solo jerky. His teammate alive somewhere as he was looking shambles. I mean, Kamian said he might be in a position for success, as Vinny mentioned, but looks like once again, Queasy Vino are here to take the game.
But if anyone's going to rival them, these guys definitely can because they have a brilliant setup themselves. We saw how good their materials were, how good they still are, and their loot situation is looking nice. Their surge situation is even nicer. They have that setup Miniminer was talking about, and we know they can execute on that.
This is all about have they expanded their strat book. Will they be playing from height? Will they be able to take it? They have the kinetic blades. That is the way to win games and translate all this power into points this season. They'll have to overtake Queasy and Vino to do that. We'll know that they'll be waiting to take height from whoever tries to go for it first. They're really good at just having those types of heists and retakes from the sky. PKR in link position.
First move in zone, pulse rifle players often do start looking up to see if there is anybody that is challenging for height. If not, a lot of the times they want to go for it themselves. These guys may not be fruitful in terms of materials, but they have the weaponry to change their fortunes.
Army and Vanyak leave their box. Aggressive duo that ends up getting what they want.
See, that's Karmi. Blade's there just scouting about, looking all over as he's in the air to make sure he has a clear path to land on.
No one yet having a finite grip on height. Everyone just still moving, making sure their mats have the most use.
And now looking in the back of the zone, Queasy and Vino being chopped out. But they will be able to hold on right now, just dropping down onto mid-ground lane. They're comfortable here. And even if they can't play for height again, they'll just keep on looking up, seeing if they can be the ones to drop out.
They'll have a 1-second pocket here in just a moment as 2 different squads are fighting for height. 500 damage above. Their only goal is just to try to win this game, and there it is. As Asa tries to build, Vino goes for it, but chooses to just let it linger for a bit longer. They had a chance. They won't try to bite fully. Just have a little bit of a taste before he gets another inside the feet. Beam from height, so it's dangerous to even try to go for the sky.
Some free materials there, but they didn't pick up the brick though, and so that might cost him down the line as he starts to run out of mats. And then, like you said, the chop does come through. Vino and Queasy, they want to hold on to it. They are going to land on Slowbay. Slowbay gets picked up, picked off. Queasy does the damage. Vino finishes it off.
And that's a mat refresh for Vino. That's more time available on height. That's dominance from a team that's won almost 2 games today. It's huge for Queasy and Vino. Trying to go for the third. Kami Seti on low ground. Yeah, they had everything set up for success, but it's just so hard to be consistent on this type of layer.
While those guys were fighting for height, these guys were fighting for positions down low, and so many mats being expended as a result of it. Another instance of a team trying to take their high ground from them, Shayo.
Vino's not going to stop. Him and Queasy have set up shop here on height. Looking to buy all real estate inside the sky. And they might not have pulse rifles. They have the red eyes and they have the aim. Vidil going for a few chops of his own on the left side. A solo trying to get as many points as possible here in game number 5.
And he's doing a good job. staying alive, beating out duos in this stage, but he needs to stay alive a bit more longer. We're heading into that top moving, and so there will be opportunities. Cammy and Seti, though, they're finding some for themselves.
Here's where they start to actually get into hot action. 2 eliminations, but they need to finish with at least 5 to make this position. All this power worth it. No points yet, just placement. They need those elims. Bevy's Pablo Wingu getting ready to be spinning top inside these boxes, looking for any shots all around. Haven't found much, so dip in the zone in a different game.
And Vino is dropping down. How many times have you seen that today? How many times has it led to a victory royale? These guys are prepared, pistol in hand, taking players down, and all the players beneath them running on bare bones, just left with wood. Some players without anything at all. Seti and Cammy now popping their slurps, popping their heals, trying to stay alive, trying to pick off someone from the deep in zone.
Bevy's probably on low. Seti Cammy in the business, with Queasy and Vino on heights. Looking at 3 different duels here, and Pablo Wingu's on the wall, up against Seti, who are then getting just bullied by Vino from the top ropes. Pablo Wingu down to no shields, just 1 more shot to take. Bevy's on the other side, he gets dropped down. It's Vino up against 2. Another one blocked him against Seti. He's taking out all of EU, but he gets taken down. Doesn't matter. It's Deja EU again and again and again. Queasy and Vino win games.
3 victory royales in these games on day 1. Have we ever seen a team be the clear and obvious favorites in a region so powerful like EU and then come out and just completely stomp through it?
In just 5 games, it feels like they just ran the whole 6 and had 3 wins. They still have 1 more to go. This is such a strong team. No one's really stopping them. Vino's playing 1v4 and making it look easy. This is the first time I've seen Queasy move a finger.
Literally, the only time today where Queasy's actually had to do something in the final moving zone, and thank goodness he did, right? Vino did just drop. Seti was down to a lick of HP, and so it wasn't the hardest of fights for Queasy to win. But nevertheless, right, they did win that fight, and they win the game. These guys are just unstoppable right now.
No one's really on their level, and a few duels at that time tried. That was 3 different height retakes, and they don't even look like they were scathed at all.
The scary thing is, it's not like it's just completely easy for them. They've been challenged off spawn. They've had hurdles thrown in the way in their mid game. They've had people try and take their high ground, and yet they still win these games. What can you put in front of them to stop them?
I have no clue. It's a duel with no weakness and superpowers. Adam, what do we do?
I don't know what we do at this point. This is unprecedented. They are steamrolling the lobby, and may I say, a stacked lobby. The best teams in the region at grand finals here. 3 victory royales. Taco, I mean, they just seem like they cannot be stopped right now.
It's looking like another day at the office as far as Queasy and Veno are concerned. And man, they honestly do just make it look easy. We're talking about 50 of the best duos in EU, but this team is just clearly making sure that that skill gap stays established.
But you can see even earlier on here, Vino Queasy know how to capitalize on every situation they're put in. From like Levin said, getting contested various times on the high ground to ultimately claiming it. They were so high up, it looked like they were playing their own LTM in the lobby, and then they get another one and another one and another one. 3 victory royales for this duo. I mean, they're looking unstoppable.
They really are. I mean, they claim the high ground. It looks like so effortlessly as well. Obviously, this being like grand finals, every team more than capable of doing exactly that. But what is it that separates them from the rest? What are they doing differently, which is always giving them that vantage point?
Again, it's just the priority refreshes. I think that Veno is doing such an excellent job whenever he does drop to those lower layers and making sure that he picks up the refreshes. He picks up the mats that he needs to. You're not seeing him miss a single mechanic. Every single move that he makes is strategic, it is tactical, it's intended, and that's something that I think a duo of this caliber has really set a different kind of standard here today in Day 1 for Europe. And we've seen Veno in the past. He's made his name Veno Day 2.
Yeah, I mean, they're not making mistakes. We can look at the standings here and show just how dominant they actually are. 365 points. Second place has 248. That's more than 100 points, Adam.
They don't want a Day 2.
That is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, considering we've played 5 games out of 6 on day number 1, there's another entire day to go. You make that much of a gap. That is a statement, Tack. You're making a statement there to say we are the ones to beat in this region right now. And eliminations, I mean, placement points as well. They already surpassed 225. That is extraordinary.
But the other thing that they've done, aside from establish a massive lead for themselves, is it's become a mental game now for these other duos involved. Vanyak and Karmi in particular, you see them sitting in that second place position. But again, 248 points in comparison to 365. That is such a steep hill to climb. And you have to remember, it's not like Vaniac and Karmi have been slouching throughout any of these lobbies so far.
Look, Vaniac and Karmi are starting the sprint that Queasy and Vino have already, finished the marathon, basically. But look, they have a lot of points now, but remember, we've seen 5 matches. We've got 1 more match until the day concludes, but there's going to be another 6 matches tomorrow, and anything can still happen. But looking up here, if we, take out Queasy Vino, 2nd place 248, 3rd place 246, Seti Kami 242, Tayson Merstash 235. It's pretty neck to neck.
Yeah. I mean, look at this as well. Consider this. Global Championships at the end of the year as well. Okay, we're looking at top 5 spots go through to that. So there's lots of places up for grabs here. So even the top 5 in general, you want to break into that just to qualify for later on this year, which, as you can see right now, is really competitive. Between obviously the 365 that Queasy and Vino have, but even down to Mustache and Tayson at 235. That is still one of these things that is achievable for our players. Already you can see Zara and Zangi here bumping 8 spots in that last game. I mean, you want to break into that top 5.
Well, the thing is, though, with Mustache and Tayson having already been qualified for global championships, even if they finish in the top 5, that could be a saving grace ultimately for teams that might find themselves in that 6th place position. Granted, that's assuming that this leaderboard doesn't have too many alterations heading into day 2, or the conclusion of day 2, I should say. But with disparity being controlled essentially by 5 very consistent teams.
Right. I want to bring up Kami and Seti, though. Yeah. Currently in the 4th place spot in qualifying range for the Global Championship. Our FNCS Invitational champions are not yet qualified for the Global Championship, and they're in qualifying range right now. So although it doesn't look like they're going to take 1st place today, there's still another day and another opportunity to make it to that Global Championship.
Yeah, and certainly for the likes of Queasy and Vino, they won't forget Kami and Seti, obviously Invitational, where we all know what happened in Game 12 there. I mean, this is, the top 5 right now, it is kind of wide open, which that's why it makes day 2 so exciting, because we've seen before as well, Taco, that sometimes duos have a great day 1, but they can fall at that final hurdle in day 2, and it really changes things up.
But I think that's where the conversation kind of shifts more towards duos and how much experience they really have. And for a duo as seasoned as Seti and Kami, I wouldn't imagine that to pose too much of a threat. It's ultimately just going to come down to what alterations they need to make from day 1.
Right. I mean, they're not contested right now in the top 5. We know how Kami and Seti play out. They speak consistency. So, I mean, I'm rooting for them, and I know that they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, consider this as well for a second here. This is the last game of the day here. Obviously, day 2 coming our way tomorrow. Last game before the end of the day, before players get back together again, reconvene, talk about strats. What is the final play going into this one? We obviously know Queasy and Vino are probably going to do work wonders out there. But what are the rest of our teams here in the rest of the leaderboard, top 10, top 20 even? What are they thinking right now, Taco?
Again, it's a mental game at this point. Just don't let that lead that Queasy and Vino have established alter your game. Play what you know best, and that's how you close the gap.
Okay, all right. Well, it's all coming our way here. It's all about to happen. We're getting very excited about this. We can hear you guys, the fans at home, screaming. The llama's up, making llama noises, and the bus is beeping. It's time for game number 6, day 1 EU Grand Finals. Let's jump right in.
Game 6 of day 1 of Major 2 in Europe, and there are clear owners of the regions. 3 out of 5 games for Queasy and Vino. One word: dominance.
Absolute dominance. It has been unreal, the levels we've seen from these guys today. The fact that even in games where everything looks like it shouldn't work for them, it still works for them. It just goes to show just how dominant of a team these guys are.
Absolutely. Higher point bracket, higher tax bracket when it comes to just the winnings they'll have by the end of day 2. If it looks like day 1, these guys look good.
It's ridiculous. And to me, I think the thing that's scary for everybody else in the lobby is what's going to stop them? What changes in day 2 that is really going to affect where they are and allow somebody to catch up?
I mean, they've had people off spawn. They've had people contest them on height multiple times. They're undefeatable.
It's really a problem. But look, it's not just teams in contention for that top 5.
There's also 6 more games for people to hit that top 5. And there's 1 more game today to see how their destinies change in Major 2 of Europe. 1 final game. Can these absolute tyrants be usurped at the top of the board? Can anyone find a falterance, a hindrance, anything in their game plan? I mean, they've got 25 minutes to do so.
I think everybody who was coming into this finals expected Queasy and Vino to do good. I'm not sure if people thought they'd do this.
Oh,
absolutely
man.
Unreal. And that change of spawn here Tucson Putrick versus Malibuka and Thomas has gone a bit differently. Both teams still landing here, but both landing on different sides of the racetrack. This is rare, Shire.
It's like Thomas and Mustache. Or Thomas and Malibuka. So close.
It's fine.
Sixth game, man.
It's
Sixth
fine.
game. It looks like these guys might just want to have a little bit more of a pedestal when it comes to the end of the day, or are looking to experiment with how to actually contest someone absolutely 50-50 off spawn. Difference in game 6 is Janus and Reasonfall. Haven't really seen that too much today.
That's been tough, right? These guys have been consistent. They came into this game in 7th place, and to go down off spawn, they might get pushed out of the top 10 if they're not careful, and that would be really tough for them as we move on through, right? Not many points separating them, right? They're tied on points with the 6th place team, and just around less than 20 points between them and the teams below them, so these guys, very good chance to get pushed out.
Kurol and Weed against iDrop. Mappy, if you guys tuned in like game 2, they're having a fight that was so poised, so structured and patient all around. This time, it's fast from Kurol and Weed. He's not giving him the wraparound. He's the one who does the damage. Kurol knocks on the door and busts it down.
Finally in the last game, doing something to shake things up. And like you said, one of the quickest Anvil fights you'll see all tournament long. Over here at the Mega City, there's fights taking place as well in places we haven't expected.
And this is very important for Gripey and Flixie. We're talking about them kind of up and comer overall in a situation in EU to make a nice name for themselves as a duo now. I mean, they've been in the business for a while. They're top 10 as of game number 5, and this is a very important fight for them to win.
You can see if Putrick and Tuce, they've just gotten out of the way of the racetrack completely. No, they don't want anything to do with that Osborne fight anymore. But they are still going to be taking a fight over towards a team they've had to deal with the past 2 games. It's Pablo Wingu and Bevies, with Skydune watching in the distance.
Fight, both in damage and investing into the builds. They're really good at just forcing you out of your own box and expanding your defensive structure. Absolutely balling Tooth inside the cone, and again, twice from Bevies. The disrespect, the 3rd shot on the Putrick. He's making it look easy. These guys have nothing, almost a collateral in terms of pump damage. They're on collectively 11 HP, and he's still chasing him. Build after build after build. You cannot stop Bevies.
The only key he has on his keyboard is W. He just walked straight at them, ran straight at them with shotgun in hand and hit every single shot he needed to.
That's not an Unreal player that got coned twice. That's Toos. That's the Toos. You don't do that to Toos.
Apparently Bevies does.
That's wild. And that's a game where it looks like they might have had some space, a little bit of a rest to be able to play and see what they can do. A difference off spawn, not going to be capitalized on this one. Vino, in that first game, he got challenged, he chased, he conquered. And this one, shot a little bit, jumped backwards, kinetic bladed away, wanting to play this game safe. Malibuka, Thomas HD, same thing. Besides Steno and Lucian, are trying to get whatever they can in terms of materials to stay alive. The builds, the blades, they'll come soon. Gonna rotate off. Although there's so much action inside this game, the same amount of players are still left alive, so it just seems as though a lot of the fights we expected to go for minutes on minutes on minutes to be a bit more patient are being a lot more decided fast now. A replay on one of these, Jay and Cosmo. Trouble with synergy sometimes. A nice bait and switch from Jay, and a big denial on the other side. This is Artor, man, who can really delay a fight, but Jay's done with that type of game now. He's looking good. Taste and Mustache. Slappy Shores. Look good throughout the whole day. I think there was one game where they might have had issues moving off spawn. But seeing them inside these later games in day 2, kind of hindered, it looks like no one's really stopping them in their own game plan.
Yeah, I think these guys, again, they know how they have to play. They know what they need to do well. But it goes back to what Tayson said, right? At the start of the day, he said, I'm not feeling it because I know Queasy and Vino are very, very good this season. And it's funny because he also said, look, for us to even have a chance, we'd have to play out of our minds.
Yeah.
And even if they do that, I still don't know if they can catch up with these guys, right? Because Queasy and Vino are just so dominant right now.
It looks like in these games, like, yeah, even if Taste and Mustache have like 10 eliminations, high ground, Vino and Queasy, no clipping in the sky. Like, they just get to be there
Just free.
and then come down. 12th zone. Floki Clement allowed to play in an FNCS without having too many off-spawn issues. They're gonna look to keep fighting. Rough day one overall. And maybe their spawn situation isn't as flowery and green as I'm having it out to be. I think they were expected to fight Snazy Podesai. That might have changed overall, at least on rotation on day two. And we've seen them have stellar day two performances themselves. Game 6 is a nice game though to fix any of those mistakes. Fix some issues overall. We'll see if it's possible for them to keep rocking. And Della and Pixie, 5th overall FNCS 1 by surprise for a lot of the community. And in this one, 13th-ish, or looking good to just be inside the overall